Welcome everybody to AP Games and this game review of Infra here on the channel. Before we get started, I want to give a big thanks to Loiste Interactive, Loiste. I think this is a foreign studio, so I apologize if I said that completely wrong. But I think it's Loiste or Loiste or Loiste. I'm not really sure. Anyways, big thank you to whoever you are for giving me the game key. I really enjoyed myself playing this game. It was a fun experience. It was very different from a lot of the traditional games that you get that are like fast-paced action shooters, that sort of thing. Anyways, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Let's go ahead and get into the review. So, for those of you who have never seen any of my game reviews, first, I start with the description of the game itself. I go into the challenges that the game presents you. I go into the gameplay as well, talking a little bit about that, before giving my review and my final numerical score. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the description of Infra. Infra is a first-person, slow-moving indie photo investigation / mystery game. So it's an indie mystery game where you work for the city inspecting properties. Your job is that you work as some sort of infrastructural inspector or engineer or something like that, and you have to inspect and problem solve a number of issues with some of the properties that the city has under its purview. As you do so, you have to kind of piece together clues, and you're presented with a problem, and you have to put together the next steps in order to get your way through the level. There's very little as far as help or hints or tips or anything like that. So whenever you get information in the game, you have to thoughtfully consider the clues. This is not a game for those who like to be handheld throughout the game. That is probably the major thing that I would want to stress about this game, is that this game is for those who really enjoy a slower pace and enjoy a game that forces them to think and consider and piece together clues in order to logically figure out what the next step is. So it's very much a game where it's not action-packed, but it's about mystery and problem solving. So just be very clear on that. There is some minor collecting and looting involved as you explore the game and as you explore the world, because you can run out of some resources like batteries for your camera, for your little camera that you have with you. So there are some minor elements like that as well, but mostly the game is based around mystery and investigation, problem solving, and piecing together clues and finding the next step, finding the right items to continue moving and progressing through the story. So that's a little description. The challenges. Again, the challenge is almost completely wrapped up in the fact that the game does not hold your hand, which I really enjoyed. Again, I very much appreciated, instead of having just a map marker every time or like a circle for a general area, they would give you a hint, or they would give you the next clue. They'd give you the tip on where you're supposed to go, but you have to figure it out on your map. You have to figure out where it is in context to where you are, and even when you get there, they don't give you necessarily all the information that you need to figure out the problem. You have to deduce it from the environment around you, which I really appreciated. So again, the challenge is almost completely wrapped up in that there are very few hints, and you have to take your time to solve the issue at hand. So this might be restoring power to a building so that you can get through a door or get into it. This might mean finding a way across the river when there doesn't seem to be one readily accessible. It might mean getting more batteries for your camera so that you can take pictures. It might be finding the right key code or key card or something like that in order to get to the next area. Whatever those issues are, though, it's something that you have to slow down and consider and really make sure that you're scouring every bit of the environment for what you might need. There is a little fun kind of like photo-taking mini game kind of part of the game. So if you find the right items or structures in the game and you photograph them, then you get a little bit like more feedback. You get kind of like this spoken feedback from the main character that you're playing as, which is kind of cool. I enjoyed that as well. Again, this is not a game for those who need pointers, map markers, who need a real clear quest log and collect X number of these and go to this place at this time, that sort of thing. You really have to carefully consider and be willing and okay with struggling to kind of like solve it. It's one of those. It's like The Witness, which I'm currently playing through on my channel right now, where you're not given all the information, and you have to sort it out on your own. But the benefit of that is that when you complete that, when you do solve it on your own, you get that much more of an accomplishment, that much more feeling of really satisfaction from completing that challenge. So those are the challenges. Again, primarily wrapped up in that there are very few hints. The gameplay, again, is slow, it's methodical, and it's exploratory. So the game is very much, it's not fast-paced. It's a game where you should be willing to take your time on each level. You should be willing to investigate every little area, to inspect all the areas of the handcrafted environment that the game creators have put together. So expect to spend a couple hours on the first level, potentially, if you really want to. So again, it's a slow, methodical game that you really have to carefully consider and comb through for the game. You're meant to take your time to search and piece clues together. You're meant to, connect the dots from various locations and the stuff that you've collected. Again, it's not an action game. It's meant to be enjoyed, investigated, and appreciated at your own pace, not at the pace of, a fast action, but at the pace of investigation, which takes time. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the review. For those of you that have never seen one of my review videos, basically I try and review the games from a perspective of if I were recommending it to a friend. I'm discussing this game with a friend. What would I say to them? How would I rank it? What would I tell them? What advice would I give them? So I rank the games on a scale of 1 to 5. A game being ranked 1 is basically a game that is buggy. It's screwed up. It's incomplete. Maybe it never really left early access, but they say it did. Maybe it doesn't work on certain platforms, or it closes to desktop every now and again. Like, it's got real serious problems and flaws. Or maybe it's an expensive game and there's only like 10 hours of gameplay on it or something like that. Like, there's something seriously wrong with that game. That's what a 1 is. On the opposite end, you've got a 5. A 5 is basically like, this game is the pinnacle of gaming. It contributed meaningfully to gaming culture, and you should really buy it just because it is that good of a game, right? So these are your Skyrims, these are your Mass Effect series, this is like Portal, the original Portal and Portal 2, games that are just so good that you really should own them just because you're a gamer. A 3 is somewhere in the middle, where this is a solid game, you're going to have fun if you buy it, maybe you should wait until it's on sale, maybe not if you really think that you're into it, that sort of thing. A 2 is like, this is a game where you should you really have to make sure that you want this game before you invest in it, because there could be some problems. And a 4 is something along the lines of, this is a solid game, you won't regret your purchase, and you won't regret it even if you buy it at full price. So where do I rank Infra? I give Infra a solid 3.25. So I say that because it's a fun, solid game. At the same time, it's just a little bit like, on the grand scale of things, again, this game is very much based around not holding your hand. However, on the grand scale of things, it was just a tad too frustrating. Like, it was like maybe 5 to 10% too frustrating. And if there was just a little bit more of a hint or a little bit more of a clear direction given, it would have been a pretty excellent game. I would say that probably the best thing that they could have done is that they would have offered some sort of hint or some sort of tip in game after being stuck for a certain amount of time on a level, and maybe even being able to turn those hints on and off as a setting as well. These hints could also be delivered through the in-game phone, which would be an easy way to deliver those hints without necessarily breaking the immersion and breaking the whole setting of the game. After playing the game for an hour, I got stuck, and I wandered around for another hour before I finally gave up. Mostly because I had other games that I had to review as well. But I did appreciate this game. However, again, it's just like 5 to 10% too frustrating as compared to being like like meaningfully struggling to get the right answer, right? So again, it's a fun game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the slower pace, but just a little bit too frustrating and not quite enough rewarding on the challenges. Other thing, for a game that's meant to be appreciated at a slow and leisurely pace, it doesn't have the best graphics. And I know that's a little bit surface level, but at the same time, it's not vital. But for a game that's meant to be slow and visually appealing and like visually, where the whole visual experience is a very important part of it because you're investigating and you're trying to observe clues. The game could have used a little bit more polish on the graphics in order to really convey that importance. Again, it's not vital, but it would have added another step up on the game. I did find it very fun. I did appreciate the fact that the game includes office elements. Like you work for an office, you work for a small government, and it portrayed some real life stuff. The fact that the elevator goes out, and the fact that you've got office politics going on. It's nice for a change that instead of it being like a fantasy game based out of this, fantasy universe, that sort of thing, it's just like it's grounded in reality, and it's grounded in the day-to-day life that a lot of people in the Western world live in, is that they live in this office building kind of office mindset. And so I kind of appreciated that. So I enjoyed that as well. Again, it's a little too slow for me. It's a little too frustrating as opposed to rewarding. They're just I feel like the game, there's nothing inherently wrong with the game, but I feel like if there were just like small tweaks, like 3 to 5, maybe 7 small tweaks to the game, it would have gone from a 3.25 to like a 3.75, being a really solid, good game. But I just can't. There's just a couple little things that bothered me with the game. So that's Infra. Again, it was a pretty solid game, a pretty fun game. I enjoyed it. I might go back to it at some point in time and do a full Let's Play of it if I ever feel like doing another slow-paced game or something like that. But until then, it's just not quite for me. I'll say that. So there's going to be a link in the description to the Steam page, the store page on Steam, if you want to check it out and see for yourself. And hopefully you guys enjoyed and appreciated the game review. If you have any questions or any comments, please put them down below. I'll be glad to answer them. If you have any feedback or anything like that, let me know. Maybe if you disagreed on something from my review, please let me know, and I'll be glad to discuss it with you. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you again soon here on AP Games.